Hi, welcome back to my channel. This episode is entitled Exposing Ravenous Wolves Are of God. Every day, people are being exposed. Some out of love for God's people and the truth. Others are self-seeking and covetous. Regardless, it is of God. Work out your own salvation and accountability. Establish a relationship with Jesus because people are double-minded and unstable. I am going to give you two relevant examples from the Word of the Lord, and I want you to meditate on these, particularly for those of us who like to see the best in others, giving them the benefit of the doubt. Number one, so that we are no longer children, spiritually immature, tossed back and forth like ships on a stormy sea, and carried about by every wind of shifting doctrine, by the cunning and trickery of unscrupulous men, by the deceitful scheming of people ready to do anything for personal profit. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 4 of the Amplified Version. And number two, speaking about these things as he, meaning Paul, does in all his letters, in which there are some things that are difficult to understand, which the untaught and unstable who have fallen into error twist and misinterpret, just as they do the rest of the scriptures to their own destruction. 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 14 of the Amplified Version. As I read the comment sections and discern the spirit of the speaker, it is deliberate that the same spirits are at work, and the curse cannot be broken because we are not discerning and listening to the Holy Spirit. Over the years, God has given me discernment of notable people, and it is disheartening because they would seem sincere, and because I wanted to believe that they are, it would take me longer to see their true nature. Now, I just don't toss them all away because I may wait for confirmation. But what I will not do is go around smearing their names. Those who do this have an agenda, because what you must remember is that none of us are perfect. And the ditch that you dig for someone else is the same one that you may be digging for yourself. Years ago, a close family member gave me some advice that I remember vividly. That is, most people do not do or say anything without an ulterior motive. When you see people profiting from the exposure of others, just remember these three passages. Number one, the Lord came down in a pillar of cloud and stood at the doorway of the tabernacle, and he called Aaron and Miriam, and they came forward, and he said, "Hear now my words. If there is a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known to him in a vision, and I will speak to him in a dream. But it is not so with my servant Moses. He is entrusted and faithful in all my house. With him, I speak mouth to mouth or directly, clearly and openly, and not in riddles. And he beholds the form of the Lord. Why then were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses?" Numbers chapter 12, verses 5 through 8 of the Amplified Version. Number 2. David said to the young man who informed him, "Where are you from?" He answered, "I am the son of a foreigner or resident alien or sojourner, an Amalekite." David said to him, "How is it that you were not afraid to put out your hand to destroy the Lord's anointed?" And he was talking about Saul in everything that he did, in all of his imperfections. He was still appointed by God to do a job. And that's 2 Samuel chapter 1, verses 13 through 14 of the Amplified Version. And number 3, saying, "Touch not mine anointed, and do my prophets no harm." Psalm 105:15 of the King James Version. The Holy Spirit will never allow his anointed to walk in darkness. Now I want you to pay attention to his grace. "For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that, if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect," or God's chosen ones. And that's Matthew chapter 24, verse 24 of the King James Version. Now I am going to go in a different direction. This is key to understanding any agendas that are not of God. For all that is in the world, the lust and sensual craving of the flesh, and the lust and longing of the eyes, and the boastful pride of life, or pretentious confidence in one's resources or in the stability of earthly things, these do not come from the Father, but are from the world. 1 John chapter 2, verse 16 of the Amplified Version. I recently wrote about how falling away has never been easier. I am going to show you how Jesus warned the disciples when they were glorifying a man-made structure. Then we will revisit 1 John. Jesus left the temple area and was going on his way when his disciples came up to him to call his attention to the magnificent and massive buildings of the temple. And he said to them, "Do you see all these things? I assure you and most solemnly say to you, not one stone here will be left on another which will not be torn down." Matthew chapter 24, verses 1 through 2 of the Amplified Version. Now back to 1 John. The world is passing away, and with it, its shameful lusts, the shameful pursuits and ungodly longings. But the one who does the will of God and carries out his purposes lives forever. Chapter 2, verse 17 of the Amplified Version. What I want you to remember is to look to Jesus. Remember this: love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. 1 John chapter 2, verse 15 of the King James Version. Know that the end is near. This is not to scare anyone, but we must be prepared. But know this, that if the good man of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched and would not have suffered his house to be broken up. Therefore, be ye also ready, for in such an hour as you think not, the Son of Man cometh. Who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his Lord hath made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season? Blessed is that servant whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing. Verily I say unto you, that he shall make him ruler over all his goods. But and if that evil servant shall say in his heart, my Lord delayeth his coming, and shall begin to smite his fellow servants, and eat and drink with the drunken, the Lord of that servant shall come in a day when he looketh not for him, and in an hour that he is not aware of, and shall cut him asunder, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Matthew chapter 24, verses 43 through 51 of the King James Version. His word states that all will be caught unaware. In fact, you are going to be at your worst or your best, incapable spiritually of straddling the fence. And know this is spiritual and does not only speak to the return of Jesus, but in death, period. Make no mistake about it. When we die, there are no do-overs. Our fate is sealed. When someone is being called out, you must discern the place that the informant is coming from. From a place of love or out of envy, jealousy, or strife. Test the spirits and proceed with caution. Otherwise, remember, if I had not come and spoken unto them, they had not had sin. But now they have no cloak for their sin. John chapter 15, verse 22 of the King James Version. The Amplified Version says, if I had not come and spoken to them, they would not have the guilt for their sin. But now they have no excuse for their sin. Thank you for joining me again. Always coming from a place of love and truth. Thank you.